since we're talking about Juve, guys, I think we can move on to the big pressing discussion, which is, of course, the only thing that we can really talk about at the moment when you mention Italian football, and it's the massive failure in Europe that we've had.
Come on, we got the reigning champions, bro. Relax.
Oh, yeah, I know. I think when you break it down individually on the games, yes, Atalanta got Real Madrid. Yes, we got Manchester United. You guys got Bayern. But I think you need to also take a step back and say, regardless of the actual matches, is it acceptable to have one team left in Europe out of the 16 possible?
Yeah, it happens almost all the time, dude. Like by now,
I know, and that's the issue, right?
Also, I can just point it out. It also, I think it also happened in Spain, if I'm not mistaken, where Atletico got knocked out, Barca got knocked out, Sevilla got knocked out.
They have Villarreal.
They have Villarreal and Granada left.
Yeah,
and Real Madrid, but they have 3.
Yeah, but I think that for Italy, the main failure in Europe obviously are Juve and Inter, the teams that were expected to do more. Lazio against Bayern, Atalanta against Real, and you guys Milan against Man United. You already, I think, meeting the expectations. Like passing, going on, carrying on in Europe would have been, more, not less. A bonus. But Juve and Inter are the real failure, in my opinion.
Yeah, I guess Inter is kind of catching a break just because it happened so long ago that we've kind of moved on from it, and Juve is getting most of the heat from in these recent weeks. So I think I'd like to ask David right away, as you can see here on the slide, what's the main issue? Is it that Italian teams don't have enough quality, or is it that the teams just don't have the right mentality in Europe?
I don't know. I feel like mentality is, something pretty vague that is kind of really hard to put a finger on. Now, are we talking defensive versus offensive? Yeah, maybe there's something to that. I don't think any team that plays 3 at the back has won the Champions League. I could be wrong. So I think there is something there. But look, I think I would say in some cases it's a matter of revenues. Like Juve is kind of getting pretty big on revenues, but the differences in revenues between Milan and Man United are just astronomical, never mind Real Madrid and Atalanta. I kind of take them a little bit one by one. Yeah, Juve should beat Porto, no questions asked, even though I think they would have lost decisively against the PSG of Man City, like a really good team. But they need to get past Porto. That's a huge failure. To me, Lazio and Atalanta are playing with house money. When the draw came out, I didn't even think Lazio would necessarily get out of the group. I actually think they carried themselves well. And look, I think any Italian team would have gotten their asses handed to them by Bayern. So there's that. And Atalanta, look, they're a great story.
I think any team in the world.
Yeah, and look, we want to talk mentality. Then, I would say Atalanta, out of all these teams, has maybe a different mentality than the others. But what stands out to me is maybe it's not a coincidence that the one team on this screen that's coached by a non-Italian made it through. Maybe that's a coincidence.
I wanted to say that.
Not, but I think there is something to it, especially in the Europa League. To me, it feels like the attitude of a lot of Serie A teams. It's like, okay, let's qualify so we can get some revenues. Let's compete so we finish here so you can also sell it to the fans. But then the minute you get there, you have no interest whatsoever, especially Napoli, who I don't even know how they got out of their group because they didn't care at all, but they somehow got out of their group. So in that
their team is just too stacked.
Mentality, it's like you're going to fight to get into Europe, and then when you get into Europe, you'll be like, well, we don't care because we got to finish top 4 this season. So yeah, that mentality isn't great there. But I do think, it's an issue of revenues, and I do think at times it's a little bit of a crapshoot. Like, look, Atalanta, if they don't get that red card in the first leg against Real Madrid, do they maybe get through? Maybe. So, I think, though, there is something to the fact that the one team that has a non-Italian manager are still playing.
I think also when you look at Roma, the example you made, Roma's been having a crisis, essentially, in Serie A when it comes to big matches. They haven't got a single win. We just saw this weekend. I personally expected them to end that streak. They didn't. They lost to Napoli again. But then when it comes to Europa League, where you're playing big matches, Shakhtar is a team that got third place in a group above Inter, and Roma beats them over 2 legs. They beat them 3-0 at home, 1-2 away from home, and yeah, it shows that it's possible that the team just gives a greater priority to an European game, but it doesn't seem like all the other teams are. Yeah, Johnny, what's up?
I'm sorry, finish your phrase. I thought you were done.
No, that's it. Go ahead.
I wanted to highlight something in chat, which I'm gonna butcher his name, but Neomatic Duke said, which is, in my opinion, one of the biggest problems in Serie A is literally the only big team who actually owns their own stadium is Juventus. All of the rest are owned by the cities, or the municipality. I'm not really sure, but this brings so much revenue, and you can just look at the teams, like overall English teams and even often Spanish teams. Well, not Spanish teams are really, but mainly English teams. All their squads are so much more complete compared to Italian teams. And so in Europa League, it's a lot easier for them to rotate players and still look good while focusing on their own league. And that's a benefit Italian teams don't really have, in my opinion.
Absolutely. When it comes to Milan, if you just look at Ricky, you can go ahead.
I also wanted to mention the aspect of quality, because I think that especially in the UCL, the 3 teams that went out, it was also thanks to serious problems related to quality. Juve, for example, against Porto, we basically went out because we just gave Porto like Bentancur, and then also when the second half started and we just weren't on the pitch. Same thing in the second leg with Demiral giving that penalty, which is such a mistake that you wouldn't expect from a defender with quality that plays an important match on that stage, on that level. So I think also quality is an issue that we have to consider. John, you remember Musacchio, then maybe that wasn't only the main thing that you went out with Bayern, but also Atalanta struggled a bit.
Goals in the 4-1 win were individual mistakes from our players. Keep that. It would have been 1-1.
Exactly. That's my point.
These are pipe mentali, which is basically Italian for, I'm going to say, mental masturbation. So, kind of bullshit. But essentially, 3 of the 4 goals we conceded that game were individual mistakes. We have players
also
who
Milan. We made a mistake at the back, and I think also if we're talking about quality, when you look at Milan and you see that over 2 legs, I think we played very, very well.
Yeah, you played better.
When Manchester United could sub on a world champion who was paid over 100 million, then there is also a point to be made about the quality, because we're bringing on Hauge. Well, no, Hauge actually, he's not even in the Europa League squad, but you know what I mean. We're bringing on subpar players, while United is bringing on incredible players. But that all goes back to the revenue, that we just don't have enough money to build squads like the Premier League teams do.
If I can say one last thing, then I'm gonna leave the place to Amy. That David mentioned it before, the fact that how Juve is really a failure this year, especially in Champions, because he said correctly, against Porto, we definitely have to go through. Then I'm convinced that, I also said it in the past episode, that again this year against teams like Bayern or PSG, we would lose. And this connects to my perspective on Pirlo. When he joined, an experienced manager, I didn't expect of him to arrive and win the Serie A, arrive in the final of the Champions League. But at least I expected him to win a match like Porto, and then if we went out against PSG or Bayern, I would have accepted it, because Pirlo is not an experienced manager. And then at least in the Serie A, arrive until the last matches competing for the title. So I think that the moment it's a critical situation. We're in a critical situation. We have the Coppa Italia final. I think that will, at this point, that is a key thing that will determine the success of the season, because if we lose the Coppa Italia final, we conclude the season with just the Supercoppa, and the Serie A is uncertain at this point. I obviously think top 4 for a team like Juve, I hope it's not even a question. It's a must.
Yeah, top 4 is
and the
an
Coppa
absolute
Italia
must
to
for you.
save. And the Coppa Italia to, let's say, save the season for what can be saved, because this
Also because
this past
Supercoppa is
Yeah.
thanks to the results of last season, right? Because it's not, you only
Yeah.
got to the Supercoppa because you won Coppa Italia last season. So in reality, it's not.
No,
it's
we won
winning one game
Coppa
this
Italia.
season.
Coppa Italia was Napoli last season.
Rick, you
Oh,
have to
yeah,
watch
sorry.
out.
For winning the league, sorry.
Atalanta's going to be out for blood, They still didn't win a trophy during their best
I know.
cycle. And
I know, that's why-
Gasperini's still mad he lost the final to Lazio. He still always hates on us in his interviews.
I know.
So he's going to
That's
come up
why
for blood.
I actually
Yeah,
think
Guys,
that's why.
Yep.
really ruined Juve's season because they can beat them in the Coppa Italia, and when they beat them when they go head to head, Juve that puts them in a tough spot for top 4.
Yeah.
But at least Gasperini doesn't hate Juve, so let's see what happens there. But I think that's so interesting. Juve and Atalanta on a collision course to end the season.
I don't know if you pointed it out earlier in the episode, but if Juve loses the game against Napoli, the head-to-head game, they're tied for 4th place. So if they drop a single point, they're 5th. Like, they drop out of top 4. Because I think Napoli would be 2 points ahead or something like that. If I'm
also
Napoli would be 1 point
Napoli.
ahead. 1 point ahead if they win. So Juve would be tied for 3rd place, which would be absolutely horrendous in my opinion.
Yeah, it's quite the precarious situation.
It's quite scary.
It's after this unbelievable result against Benevento, we're really in a situation in which it's either one way in which you can save the season or the other, which can potentially be a catastrophe. So, I mean, and the thing that makes me mad, because we lost now that there is the Pausa Nazionale, and also against Fiorentina when we lost 3-0, it was before the break of Christmas. So I don't know if that's positive or negative, but as a fan, not being able to react immediately, I guess we'll see.